Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on KDOC TV.
Startling new information on that train derailment that killed 7 people and injured hundreds more in Philadelphia. Investigators now revealing it was traveling more than twice the legal speed limit at 106 miles per hour.
Justice has finally been served.
It's taken 15 years and 3 trials, but today a jury convicted a father of murder for throwing his little girl off a cliff.
How did a gun stolen from an LA County Sheriff's deputy wind up in the hands of a 3-year-old girl? Good evening. I'm Rebate and for Colleen Sullivan.
I'm Mark Brown. David and Colleen are off. This is Eyewitness News on KDOC, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. New details in the Amtrak crash that has killed at least 7 people. The details come as investigators recovered the train's data recorder, which could provide crucial information about what happened. ABC's Karen Travers is live in Philadelphia with the latest. Karen.
Good evening, Mark and Rudy Bay. Speed was a factor in last night's deadly Amtrak accident. Federal investigators say Amtrak train 188 was traveling at a speed of 106 miles per hour just seconds before it derailed, and that the engineer tried to hit the emergency brakes, but it was too late. Last night, passengers described a chaotic scene, debris and wreckage everywhere. And today, Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter says it's incredible that so many were able to walk away.
Investigators here at the scene in northeast Philadelphia sifted through mangled metal and debris. The NTSB said preliminary data shows the train was traveling 106 miles per hour before it derailed, more than twice the speed limit for that part of the track.
Just moments before the derailment, the train was placed into engineer-induced braking, and this means that the engineer applied full emergency brake application.
The engineer was identified as 32-year-old Brandon Bastian of Queens, New York. All 7 cars plus the engine broke off the track.
Like a big bang. The train tilted over and rolled.
Amtrak says there were 238 passengers and 5 crew members on board the train. There are 7 confirmed fatalities, including 20-year-old Justin Zemser, a midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis.
This tragedy has shocked us all in the worst way.
And 48-year-old Jim Gaines, who worked for the Associated Press. More than 200 passengers were treated at local hospitals.
It is incredible that so many people walked away from that scene last night. And I don't know how that happened, but for the grace of God.
There are still people unaccounted for, and Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter says that they haven't completely matched the passenger manifest they received from Amtrak officials with the information they've received from local hospitals. That may mean that some passengers just didn't board the train last night, or it may mean that some passengers haven't checked in with authorities, but Mark, at this point, that's still unclear.
Yeah, Karen, this is a pretty important rail line, too, isn't it? How has this crash affected rail service on the East Coast?
Very significantly today, Mark. You cannot travel on Amtrak between Philadelphia and New York City. There was service today between Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, but it was limited, and no surprise, there were delays and some cancellations. This is the busiest stretch of Amtrak rail in the entire country. On any given day, between Washington and Boston, there may be 2,000-plus trains on the rails. This is a very significant travel schedule for Amtrak. And officials said today that this investigation is going to be very thorough. They have to go through all of the debris and wreckage, and the rail lines are mangled and twisted, so it could be a while before travel here out of Philadelphia is back to normal. Mark? All right, Karen, thank you so much for that live report. Here at home tonight, an all-out search is underway for a Victorville woman, 33-year-old Letitia Smith, who is wanted in connection with the murder of her husband. Officers responded to the home in the 13,700 block of Brynwood Street, checking on reports that her husband, 35-year-old Antoine Smith, had been missing for several days. That's when officers found his body in a bedroom. Police say Letitia Smith fled the home with her 2 daughters, ages 8 and 4 years old. Investigators say she's driving a 2010 silver Honda Accord with license plate BT742. Anyone with information is urged to call 911. A gun stolen from the vehicle of an off-duty LA County Sheriff's deputy is recovered, but not before falling into the hands of a 3-year-old girl. Now the mother is behind bars. This is a picture of the gun found in the young girl's hands. Deputies arrived at the home to investigate the stolen weapon and were shocked to find the 3-year-old walking toward them, pointing the gun at them.
You just don't think of a 3-year-old holding a loaded firearm at you, but it could have been could have been anything. Had that 3-year-old reached inside the trigger guard and pulled the trigger, we could have had a totally different outcome. It might have just been an accidental discharge, but it could have ended up, actually shooting one of the officers that were there.
The girl's mother, Kimberly Torres, is now under arrest for child endangerment, possession of stolen property. The 3-year-old is in Child Protective Services.
A shocking twist in the search for a missing Fullerton couple who vanished on Mother's Day. Diana Bedwell and her husband of 25 years, Cecil Knutson, were last seen leaving the Valley View Casino in Valley Center around 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. They never made it to their son's home for dinner. Today we're learning this isn't the first time the family has faced adversity. They are tied to what's been called the most terrible crime in Indiana history. There's even been a movie made about it. We'll have much more on this story coming up at 7:30. Meanwhile, after 15 years and 2 mistrials, a jury has convicted a father in the murder of his own 4-year-old daughter. Prosecutors say he threw her off a Rancho Palos Verdes cliff to her death. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has more on the verdict and what the little girl's mother is saying today.
For 15 years and through 2 mistrials, Cameron Brown claimed that his daughter Lauren's fatal fall was an accident. Today, that claim was soundly rejected by the 3rd jury to hear the case. One juror's emotion would not be contained.
I'm sorry to Sarah for all the pain she has been going through. I'm sorry for your death of your baby, but justice has finally been served.
In trial, prosecutors presented evidence that Brown did more than push his daughter, rather that the former airport baggage handler threw the 4-year-old over the edge at Inspiration Point, a 120-foot drop.
Defendant Cameron Brown, guilty of the crime of murder in the 1st degree.
Today's verdict ends 15 years of frustration for Lauren's mother.
It's all been really hard. The pain, we just learned to live with the pain.
Brown, to the end, held his ground. I am innocent, he says to the judge moments after the verdict is read. In the previous trials, jurors were able to agree that Brown had committed a crime, but were split on the degree of culpability. Some had believed his offense was a simple failure to hold his daughter's hand. But in this round, there was new testimony about Brown's motive: to end child support payments, exact revenge on Lauren's mother, Sarah.
And she hated Sarah so much that he was willing to go to these lengths to get back at her.
Cameron Brown will be back in court next month to hear his penalty. He faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Reporting from downtown Los Angeles, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Firefighters are preparing for what could be a very active wildfire season, and today the Ventura County Fire Department gave a very visual demonstration of the tools it will use to fight those fires. More than 10 dozen fire agencies throughout the county, including CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service, held their annual fire season assessment behind the Reagan Library. Firefighters are warning residents to make sure they've done their brush clearance up to 100 feet around their homes. They brought out goats to demonstrate how to clear the brush. They say their most important message: fireproof your house and be ready to go with your personal belongings if there is a fire.
Well, the fire danger will be very low in a couple of days because we have a storm coming in. Jonathan Novak is here. Jonathan.
Yeah, Mark. Folks, sooner than that, in fact, it looks like, with the chance of rain, I'll show you here, entering the picture maybe as early as tomorrow. Live Megadoppler 7000 HD. Nothing doing right now at this moment, but I want to show you this huge trough of low pressure that is now established itself over the western portion of the country. Check this out, really just digging in. And this area of low pressure, we're going to see energy rotating around this, bringing the chance of rain. I'm going to show you where it starts, and then we'll get to the rest later on in the full forecast. But in the future rainfall forecast, we have this already starting by the commute home tomorrow. Chance of rain starts then, and it looks like thunderstorms are in the forecast. I'll tell you how long it lasts, how much to expect coming up in that full forecast in a few minutes.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. See you in a few. California Attorney General Kamala Harris unveiled a new plan today to handle sexual assault cases on college campuses. Right now, 11 California colleges are under federal investigation for the way they've handled sexual assault cases. Harris and UC President Janet Napolitano released a memorandum of understanding which will serve as a roadmap for better coordination between colleges and law enforcement agencies. With an estimated 80% of campus sexual assaults going unreported, it puts the needs of victims first.
What we know is that we must provide a safe environment for them, because that student is not only valuable in terms of who they currently are, but they are valuable in terms of California's future and the future of our country.
Harris says the agreement clarifies responsibilities as cases are investigated and will help to hold more perpetrators accountable.
Rescue crews are desperate to find a missing helicopter from Camp Pendleton that went down in Nepal with U.S. Marines on board. 6 U.S. Marines and 2 Nepalese soldiers were on the aircraft when it vanished. There's been no communication and no signal from the emergency beacon. The crew was helping relief efforts following that country's second deadly earthquake in just weeks. Many people in isolated villages remain cut off from aid.
It was one of the scariest things that I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Toll from yesterday's quake is at least 79. More than 2,300 are hurt, and that's on top of at least 8,000 people killed in April's earthquake. Officials are now ordering survivors in several remote villages to evacuate. And there is still time to send help for the victims in Nepal. You can mail checks to ABC7 Nepal Disaster Relief Fund, P.O. Box 5967, Glendale, California, 91221. And you can make those checks payable to Red Cross Nepal Relief. You can also donate on ABC7.com. Search Nepal Relief.
In Afghanistan, an American citizen has been killed in an attack on a guest house in Kabul. Police say an hours-long siege at the house ended with 5 people dead, 6 wounded. Dozens of hostages were also rescued. This all happened when gunmen stormed Kabul's Park Palace Hotel as it hosted a party for foreigners. The American victim has not been identified.
Dramatic video up next. The dash camera captures an RV's dramatic rollover crash. What prevented this crash from being worse?
Plus, a new push in California to bring the pay for women in line with their male co-workers. Who's behind what could become the strongest equal pay law in the country?
Part a cappella, part comedy, and all entertainment. I'm George Pinocchio, a musical sequel in tonight's Hollywood Rap. The Bellas are back to compete again. We'll talk with the singing stars of Pitch Perfect 2 next.
Breaking news to tell you about now. Someone stole an ambulance and the resulting crash has led to several fatalities. Let's get more from Bill Thomas in Air 7 HD in Fraser Park. Bill. We have lost Bill's picture, it looks like. We will try to go back to Bill Thomas over the scene of that crash in Fraser Park.
Yeah, we'll get to some other news now. Dramatic dash cam video captures an RV veering off a Louisiana highway and rolling over the median. Investigators say the tire blew on the front driver's side of the RV, causing it to run off the road. Louisiana State Police say cables on the median prevented it from crashing into oncoming traffic.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it may sound like I was calm, but believe me, for 2 hours I was shaking.
When you have a crossover type collision, 9 times out of 10 you're looking at a fatal crash. So to see these preventing that crossover situation is really important.
Because of crashes like this one, the Louisiana Department of Transportation plans to have more than 500 miles of cable barrier installed along its interstates in the next 3 years.
A bill aimed at closing the wage gap for women in the workplace is moving through the California legislature. The measure, called the California Fair Pay Act, proposes equal pay for women for work that is comparable to their male colleagues, and if women inquire about salaries, that they do not face retaliation. According to the Equal Rights Act, a woman in California working full-time made a median 84 cents for every dollar a man earned. This bill aims to change that.
People want to know whether or not they're being paid fairly as well. And right now they don't have the ability to do that because they fear retaliation, and it is not clear whether or not the employer can do that. Technically they can't, but it isn't clear, and this bill will make it clear.
If the measure is signed into law, it would be the strongest equal pay law in the nation.
All right, we have that picture back, that breaking news. Let's get back to Bill Thomas in Air 7 HD live over Fraser Park. Bill?
Yeah, it looks like 2 people killed in this crash. This is Fraser Mountain Park Road, right at Interstate 5, the Golden State Freeway in Fraser Park. It's about 30 miles north of the city of Santa Clarita. A wreck involving an ambulance totally destroyed. It looks like it ran head-on into that big rig. Eyewitness News has learned that someone described as a 25-year-old female with a knife stole that ambulance in the middle of your screen from the Hall Ambulance Company nearby here in Fraser Park, came down the mountain road, and then collided with that big rig. We have learned that the person driving the ambulance, a 25-year-old female, was pronounced dead here at the scene. You can see the body covered up under a yellow tarp on that gurney, and then looks like the driver of the big rig, a yellow tarp covering up his body in the big rig as well. The whole mountain road is entirely shut down. This is Fraser Martin Park Road, right off of Interstate 5, and the investigation into this accident continues. Reporting live from Air 7 HD, I'm Bill Thomas, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Bill, real tragedy there. We're going to have to find out more about what happened here. Let's move on now to Jonathan Novak. He is here telling us about a storm that is heading this way. Jonathan.
Yeah, Mark, folks, we've been talking about it all week. Looks like chances of rain in the forecast, as we have been advertising. That live Mega Doppler 7000 HD. A dry picture now, but the storm system has really started establishing itself, and ahead of it, you know it. If you were outside, if you looked outside, you saw the clouds today. This is some time-lapse footage of those low clouds. Hard to find much sun, at least in the early part of the day today. And highs were at 69 in downtown Los Angeles. Wow, cool. Are you guys sick of the cool weather yet? No? Neither am I. I like it. It's here to stay for at least a little while longer. 74 is our normal. 63 right now in Malibu. You have been pretty much there the whole week, but the inland spots, it took a little while to get there this week. But you're there. 65 Ontario, Riverside, your current temperature. 54 in Wrightwood. 66 Santa Clarita. There's not a huge spread here across the whole Southern California area. We are just COOL. Okay, so that big trough of low pressure has started to dig in, continues to do so. Look at this flow you see around that area of low pressure, that onshore flow just bringing in a lot of moisture. Now what we need is the energy to lift it up and get the showers and the storm chances. And we're going to get that. It's going to start, it looks like, as early as tomorrow for your commute home. Ahead of it, the cloud cover is still there. Temperatures below average. This is 6 p.m. I showed you this earlier, the shower chance in the area. I'd say it gets better as you go through Thursday night and Friday morning. This is Friday at 5 a.m. Thunderstorm chance is possible. Looks like we could see a couple of storms fire up through Friday morning, and then I think maybe a lingering storm or shower in the late morning time on Friday as things taper off into the afternoon and possibly in the mountains in the evening time, but I think by then we're pretty much calling it quits on that system. So from Thursday in the late afternoon through Friday late morning, expect some shower chances, and we'll expect the showers that are in the forecast for that time frame, and maybe a decent shot of getting up to about 3/4 of an inch of rain. For tonight, though, we'll keep it dry, cloudy, cool, 56 at the beach, 50 the valleys, low deserts at 60. And in the highs tomorrow, let's show you that as well to boot. It's going to be nice and cool, comfortable. 65 in Los Angeles, 62 in Palmdale. How about that? Wow. 61 Lake Elsinore, 59 Temecula. Enjoy it. That 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. A couple of days here, Thursday, Friday. I showed you that. Now, what happens after Saturday, Sunday? Looking nice. We're drying up. We're seeing the temperatures rise up into the 70s before next week's second cool down in store. Valleys, i.e., a couple of days in the lower 60s with the showers around Thursday and Friday. Maybe some storms, potentially up to an inch of rain. Some of the foothill areas. The beach forecast calls for about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch of rain with this system. Lower 60s is still cool for you guys. You're going to stay right there in the temperature forecast all the way through. The mountains are going to be cold on Friday, 39, potentially 6 inches of snow in the highest elevations over 7,000 feet. In the high deserts, 58, cold and wet on Thursday and Friday. Back to you guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. And with the storm on the way, it's the perfect time to join our circle of eyewitnesses. When the rain and snow hits, just send us your video and photos using the hashtag ABC7Eyewitness.
In tonight's Hollywood Wrap, getting in tune with Pitch Perfect 2.
The stars tell us about how fans helped them get this sequel made. And here's George Pinocchio with the details.
Okay, thank you. I will speak this, I will not sing it. I'll spare you all. The big screen's favorite a cappella group is back. The cast from the original musical comedy Pitch Perfect reunites to make beautiful music once again in Pitch Perfect 2.
You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
We're back in the competitive singing world with the Barton College Bellas for Pitch Perfect 2. Back in 2012, the first film became a surprise hit, grossing $113 million. It became an even bigger success on DVD. The Bellas' worldwide popularity made for some interesting fan encounters for the film's stars.
I was filming another movie in Africa last year, and these African girls who, English is not even their first language, screaming at me like I was One Direction, like, ah! A little girl came up to me and regarded me as my character, and was talking about how she's going to dress up as my character for Halloween, and I was like, what? It's a really cool moment.
Haley Steinfeld plays the new freshman who joins the group for the sequel. She counts herself as one of those die-hard fans of the original movie.
I didn't dress up as any of them for Halloween, but I was a very big fan. I was. I remember distinctly watching this movie in the theater. I went with a friend of mine and my parents, and if we weren't singing along to a song, my parents were.
I've got my heart set on being a Bella. It's actually at the very top of all my dream boards.
The actors who play the Bella's male counterparts, the Treblemakers, say that off-screen the cast has bonded just like their characters in the film.
I think that's kind of what sets the movie apart, is how close we all are, and especially doing it a second time and going through this whole cultural phenomenon together has brought us closer.
There's also an element of putting on a show because there's so many performances, so there's all the lead up and, oh my God, are we going to actually be able to do this? And it's very exciting.
The most exciting part for Rebel Wilson and her character, Fat Amy?
Solo number. I begged for it. I got it. Yeah.
Pitch Perfect 2 is directed by Elizabeth Banks. It's rated PG-13 and is in theaters on Friday. Mark, Rudabeh?
Looks like fun. Looks like a fun movie. All right, well, up next, a major new airbag recall.
Plus, he's a definite front runner for the worst driver ever. We'll take a look at this guy's driving record.
And caught on camera, a hammer-wielding suspect shot by New York City police. But we're learning about the man who's now in the hospital.
Toyota and Nissan have recalled 6.5 million more cars because of potentially faulty airbags. The airbags were made by the Japanese company Takata. Takata airbags are the reason why tens of millions of cars have been recalled recently. It's feared the airbags can explode and send shrapnel flying at drivers and passengers. At least 5 deaths have been linked to these malfunctioning airbags. The cars involved in the recall were made between 2003 and 2007.
There's a man behind the wheel in Miami who may hold the title of that city's worst driver. Kiari Cook has had his license suspended 26 times, and he's just 23 years old. Cook's most recent run-in with authorities came when he was arrested at a DUI checkpoint. State records show his driving privileges were revoked 4 years ago. Even though his license has been suspended more than 24 times, he tells a local reporter that he never knew.
You over there antagonizing me, but...
No, I'm not antagonizing you. I'm stating a fact. It says here, every yes shows that you were driving with a suspended license. And you're telling me you didn't know that?
Right.
You never knew you had a suspended license.
Your next question. Mom!
In Florida, it's a felony to repeatedly and knowingly drive on a suspended license.
Mom! We are updating the evening's top stories next here at 7:30.
Including a new twist in the search for that missing Fullerton couple, new details on the woman's reported history of violence.
Plus, the jury in the Boston Marathon bombing is now deliberating the fate of Johar Tsarnaev. We'll have the details on closing arguments.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on KDOC TV.
Our top story at 7:30. New details about the train derailment in Philadelphia that killed at least 7 people and injured more than 200 others. We now know the Amtrak train was traveling at 106 miles an hour when the engineer hit the brakes. I'm Mark Brown.
I'm Rebate Shabazi. David and Colleen are off tonight. This is Eyewitness News on KDOC TV, LA's only live local newscast at 7:30 p.m. Federal investigators say the emergency brakes were applied moments before last night's deadly crash. The derailment took place as the train entered a curve where the speed limit is 70 miles per hour.
It took 15 years and 3 trials, but today a jury convicted this father of murder for tossing his daughter off a Rancho Palos Verdes cliff. Jurors found Cameron Brown guilty of first-degree murder in the death of 4-year-old Lauren Serene Key. Prosecutors argued he threw her off a cliff in 2000 because he never wanted the child and no longer wanted to pay child support. Brown claimed the girl tripped and fell.
A major new twist in the search for a missing Orange County couple. Today we're learning this isn't the first time the family has faced adversity. They're tied to what's being called the most terrible crime in Indiana history. Eyewitness News Orange County Bureau Chief Eileen Frere has more on this shocking new twist.
The search continues for Diana Bedwell and her husband of 25 years, Cecil Knutson, missing since Mother's Day.
The most important person in your life being taken away from you and not a trace left behind of their whereabouts. Just let that sink in for a second. And that's where we're at.
Their mysterious disappearance heart-wrenching for a family that's already suffered such tragedy. 50 years ago, Bedwell's sister, Sylvia Likens, then 16, was murdered in Indianapolis, repeatedly tortured by her caregiver, Gertrude Banaszewski, by some of Banaszewski's children, including her daughter Paula, and other neighborhood kids. Bedwell, seen here on the right at Banaszewski's trial, she was found guilty of murder in 1966. What was called the most terrible crime in Indiana history was turned into a movie in 2007 called An American Crime.
How long until Sylvia's out of the basement? Until she learns her lesson.
The couple's Orange County neighbors just learning about the tragic past.
It's staggering. There's hardly words for it.
It's unfortunate, and I pray that God will help us find them and in good shape.
The couple was at the Valley View Casino in Valley Center and left around 2 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday. They never made it to their son's home for dinner in La Quinta, 100 miles away. They were driving a 2014 white Hyundai Sonata, license plate 7EHE981.
We're very worried. We're wondering what's going on. Where are they?
Now, if you've seen the couple or their vehicle, call the San Diego County Sheriff's Department at 858-565-5200 if you have any information at all. In Fullerton, Eileen Frere, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The man accused of stabbing a toddler and other family members alongside a freeway in Menifee on Monday made his first court appearance today. 44-year-old Nicholas Garcia of Menifee pleaded not guilty. Charges include attempted murder and attempted kidnapping. The family was changing a tire on Interstate 215 when he allegedly slashed an 18-month-old child and 3 adults with a piece of broken plastic. Prosecutors would not comment on a possible motive, but they say he did not know the victims. He's accused of hitting and killing a mother and then taking off, triggering a massive manhunt. Today, the alleged hit-and-run driver appeared before a judge. Felipe Avalos pleaded not guilty to all charges. Among those remembering Jennifer Campbell is her young son, who is now facing the rest of his life without his mother. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan has more.
This is the man accused of being behind the wheel at the time of the hit-and-run crash, 43-year-old Felipe Avalos.
I don't know why you would just do this. I mean, you made me lose my mother. Now I don't have one. I thought I was going to be able to have a mom that would hold my hand when I die.
Anthony Campbell is the 10-year-old son of the woman who was killed in the crash 2 weeks ago, Jennifer Campbell. Campbell was apparently walking home with a friend on Sultanas Road in Homeland when they were allegedly both struck from behind by Avalos.
You took a wife, you took a friend, you took a cousin, you took everyone to us.
The victim's family says Avalos apparently fled to Mexico and then turned himself in at the urging of his attorney. Because Avalos is a potential flight risk, the judge upped his bail to $2 million.
He's so heartless. He has no soul. I mean, why would you do this? I mean, if you were to be high, on drugs, looking at your phone, changing a CD, adjusting your seat, whatever, in your car, and you hit them, you should have stopped. You shouldn't have kept going.
While Campbell was killed, the other victim was seriously hurt. As it stands right now, if found guilty of all charges, including vehicular manslaughter, gross negligence, and felony hit and run causing death or injury, Avalos could get more than 12 years behind bars. In Riverside, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Tonight, a big increase in the reward being offered in the murder of a Compton man 2 years ago. 23-year-old Aishan Bennett was attending a front yard party when a hail of gunfire erupted from the street. Bennett was hit once and died. His killer has never been found. 2 years later, Bennett's family is still grieving for the young man who is preparing to pursue a career as an X-ray technician.
We're never going to see his kids. We're never going to go to his wedding. We're never going to go to his college graduation.
It's been quite the fight to get the $20,000 reward, but you know, I've never seen Compton put up a reward for anyone in years, and so for them to back my brother's story and his case says a lot, and we're just very thankful to the Board of Supervisors and the Mayor of Compton.
Anyone with information on the case is urged to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
A man wanted in a series of hammer attacks in New York City was shot and wounded by police. The incident was captured on surveillance video. 2 officers were responding to an unrelated assault in Midtown Manhattan when they spotted the suspect and started following him. Police say the man turned around, pulled a hammer out of a bag, and started swinging it. One officer fell to the ground while the other fired at the suspect 4 times. The man has been identified as 30-year-old David Burrill. He is in the hospital in critical but stable condition and is said to have a history of mental illness. And in Boston, the life of convicted marathon bomber Johar Tsarnaev is now in the hands of the jury. The same panel which found the 21-year-old guilty on all counts is now deliberating his fate. ABC's Elizabeth Herr has the latest from Boston.
Closing arguments began with prosecutors showing more pictures of the victims. The graphic images and details bringing at least one juror to tears. The jury of 7 women and 5 men is the same group of jurors that found 21-year-old Johar Tsarnaev guilty on all counts for his involvement in the Boston Marathon bombings. The blast at the finish line in 2013 killed 3 people and injured more than 260. Throughout the trial, the defense tried to paint the 21-year-old as a lost young man who participated in the bombings under the influence of his older brother Tamerlan. Today, prosecutors told the jury Tamerlan was not the mastermind, that the 2 brothers were partners in the crime, adding Johar's actions destroyed many lives and his actions earned him a sentence of death. In their closing arguments, the defense opened by asking the jury to choose life, trying to humanize the convicted bomber, describing Johar as a quiet and invisible young man who grew up in the shadows of his radicalized older brother. The mission for the defense now, convince just 1 juror to reject the death penalty.
If even 1 juror is not persuaded of the propriety of capital punishment here, the judge must sentence him to life without the possibility of parole.
And the defense closed today by reminding jurors their decision must be unanimous, adding it is their duty to discuss and deliberate, but not their obligation to vote for death. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, Boston.
Up next, the local city slashing taxi cab rates to compete with Uber and Lyft.
Plus, new rules for short-term rentals in Santa Monica. The latest on efforts to regulate rentals like Airbnb.
We are dry right now. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD. No green on the screen yet, but I have rain chances in the forecast. Details ahead.
The taxi cab business is very competitive, and new technology is making it more so. The city of Long Beach is making some changes to make it more fair for everyone involved. Taxi drivers say they've seen their incomes reduced ever since customers began using smartphone apps like Uber and Lyft. To try to level the playing field, the Long Beach City Council approved a pilot program that allows taxis to offer discounted fares in order to keep up with the competition. Long Beach is the first major city to modernize taxi regulations.
There's a major blow to the booming business of short-term rentals like Airbnb. Santa Monica passed some of the toughest new regulations in Southern California. Hosts are now required to obtain a business license and pay the city a 14% hotel tax. Eyewitness News reporter Giovanna Lara has details.
For more than a year, longtime Santa Monica resident Arlene Rosenblatt, a retired LAUSD teacher who lives on a fixed income, has relied on Airbnb vacation renters to help her and her husband make ends meet.
It changed our life immensely.
Whenever they traveled to visit their grandchildren, they'd open their home to vacationers, over time earning some $10,000 in extra income.
It helps us, cover the flights costs, and it just helps us not go into savings.
But now a new home sharing ordinance passed by the Santa Monica City Council this week will put an end to Arlene's vacation rental income. The new ordinance makes it clear vacation rentals for less than 30 days are illegal, and home sharing is only allowed when the resident host is present during the guest's entire stay. Violators could be fined up to $500 per day and face criminal prosecution.
We are really sad. It just even makes me sad to talk about it because we had counted on this money.
But not everyone is lamenting the new law. Jennifer Kennedy of Santa Monicans for Renters' Rights says it will benefit the city and its residents.
This ordinance is really good for renters because it's going to be returning a lot of residential units to the housing market for renters who want to live here, work here, and be part of our community.
Santa Monicans for a long time have complained to the city about vacation rentals where people were coming and staying for 2 or 3 days, didn't care about the neighbors, and they also were concerned about the fact that those housing units were no longer being permanently used by families who wanted to live here.
And this afternoon, Airbnb is weighing in, saying in a statement, quote, "This proposal fails to provide clear, fair rules for home sharing. We will continue to highlight the importance of fair rules with leaders in Santa Monica and throughout Southern California." Giovanna Lara, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Things are changing fast, huh?
Sure.
All right, well, will rain wash out your morning commute? Jonathan Novak has the complete forecast up next.
And race car driver and former Dancing with the Stars champ Elio Castroneves goes airborne while practicing for the Indy 500. And this.
More and more people are tearing out their turf. The program has been successful to save water, but it's so successful there's now a backlog. I'm Carlos Grande in Toluca Lake, and I'll have that story coming up.
Heavy rain has caused major flooding in Houston, Texas and surrounding communities. Some areas have received more than 10 inches of rain in just a few hours. At least 20 people, most of them motorists, have been rescued from high water, with some intersections covered in several feet of standing water. The heavy rains extend to North Texas, where officials are taking the unusual step of releasing water from lakes to avoid banks from being breached. Definitely not the issue here. We could definitely use the rain, and there is some in the forecast. Let's get a check on weather with Jonathan.
Yeah, how about it? This has just been so weird lately. Just the pattern that we've been in is not supposed to have happened or be happening now. It's supposed to have sort of been a wintertime thing. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD. We are dry. Texas, by the way, they've had it, the whole portion of the country, the eastern portion of the country has had it rough lately. For us, we have a storm system finally. Another shot at some rain. As this one moves in for tomorrow. Look at the temperatures. I want you to pay attention here. 64 in downtown, 64 Burbank, 64 Long Beach. Pretty much a consistent temperature scheme as we look at the Southern California temperatures here, 65 Riverside. Not a huge spread. Earlier in the week, we had a bigger divergence of the temperatures from the coast to the inland areas, but everybody is cool now, and it's going to stay this way for a couple of days as this big trough of low pressure hangs out in the western portion of the country. Look at the clouds ahead of this system. We'll have a weak front move through tomorrow. Another real strong burst of energy on Friday. I'll show you in a moment. But look at that. This is that trough I just was making mention of, bringing that onshore flow. The temperatures get knocked down as a result, and that marine layer thickens up. And now what we have for Thursday and Friday is the energy moving through the atmosphere. We've got the moisture. We just need that energy to lift it up. So I'm going to show you two graphics here. The future scan is going to show you the energy I was just making mention of rotating around this main area of low pressure. And the bulk of that, look at that on Friday, 11 a.m. Friday morning looks like we'll have the most lift in that with that system as it moves through. And as a result, you'll see here in the future rainfall forecast, it coincides with the best chance of some rain. So watch this now as I bring you through Thursday at noon into Thursday at 6 p.m. Already seeing some slight chances of rain up in the Santa Barbara, Ventura County, even the L.A. County area as well, closer to the coast. By Thursday at 6 p.m., the rain chances are increasing through Friday at 5 a.m. That's where we'll probably see the best chance of rain. Your morning commute on Friday looks like it could be not just showery, but maybe stormy. Storm chances are in the forecast. On top of that, snow is in the forecast. We have about 6-7 inches predicted here for the mountain areas over 7,000 feet. For tomorrow, the high, 65, and again, the rain chances will kick in later on in the day, for Thursday and into Friday. And I think by Friday afternoon, evening, we are tapering the chance off. The showers should start winding down, and the weekend looks good. A little on the cool side, but not bad at all. 70, 71 for Saturday, Sunday, but sunny skies. Valleys, i.e., a cool, wet Thursday and Friday ahead, especially the latter portion of Thursday into the first half of Friday, just like everybody else. And it looks like you can see us potentially up to an inch of rain with this system. And the beach forecast calls for about 3/4 of an inch of rain at the top, maybe about 1/2 an inch overall for most of you guys. And it looks like a cool day for you as well. Now, the mountains, snow's been in the forecast, 6-7 inches over about 7,000 feet. But look at the highs to boot. Friday, 39 for your high temperature. It's going to be a cold next couple of days. The high desert's cool on Friday, and a little rain for you too. 58, 1/4 inch of rain possible for the high desert. Okay. We'll be tracking it right here in the Weather Center.
It's going to keep you guys busy in the Weather Center. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Yeah. Race car driver Elio Castroneves was the Dancing with the Stars champion in 2007. Well, today he may have been seeing stars after a scary crash at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Castroneves was getting in some practice runs today in preparation for the Indy 500. That is Sunday, May 24th here on ABC7. When this happened, his car hit the wall, turning it backwards. He goes airborne. The car flipped over, finally came to a stop. Here's what it looked like from his perspective. Yep, that is pretty scary. Castroneves was able to walk away from the crash uninjured. Afterward, he said, "I still don't understand what happened." The Clippers may not understand either. They were hoping for a win and a historic night in Houston, a trip to the conference finals for the first time. They did make NBA history last night. They became the first playoff team to win back-to-back games by more than 25 points and then lose by more than 20 in the same series. If you're a Clipper fan and felt ill watching last night's game, James Harden was sick, but you would never have known it. Battling the flu, the pride of Artesia High in Lakewood had his best game of the series. He had a triple-double, 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. The MVP runner-up led the way as the Rockets soared past the Clippers 124-103. Game 6 tomorrow night at Staples, and if necessary, Game 7 will be on Sunday in Houston.
Their backs were against the wall, and they came out and played like it. I think we kind of played like we knew we had a couple bullets in the chamber. You know, we had a safety net knowing we could still go home and try to finish them, and we can't have that kind of mentality. You know, we got to do a better job at having that killer mentality. You know, this is new for this team, and, you know, it's something we got to continue to work on, but we'll be better at home.
I just didn't like how we played offense. I didn't recognize a lot of the things we were running. Not sure what we were running. I have to watch the tape.
Are you worried that a game like this could snowball on you guys?
No. Well, you can see Game 6 between the Clippers and the Rockets tomorrow night on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. The first game of their doubleheader is Game 6 between the Cavs and the Bulls. Cleveland leads that series 3-2.
Homeowners are answering the call to beat the drought by replacing their lawns with drought-resistant landscaping. In fact, so many people are choosing to make the change, it's actually creating a backlog for those DWP rebates. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda explains.
It's the popular new look, taking out your lawn. Mark Bew is doing it at his home, and it's taken some time.
I started the process in January, and I think at that point people were just starting up.
In those months, officials say the program has been overwhelmed with requests.
The turf removal program has been so successful, it's been beyond our expectations.
The DWP says last year it replaced 1.8 million square feet of turf. This year it more than doubled to 5 million. There's a backlog of requests. The program is administered by the Metropolitan Water District, and on the website it says wait times and processing times for rebates have increased.
It'll take about 14 weeks to get the rebate check.
Might be a little longer wait, but we're going to try to accelerate that, work with the Metropolitan Water District, which is half of the subsidy as well, to continue that forward.
To get the rebate, you have to have turf now. Take photos and submit them along with a plan for approval. After it's approved, you can start your project. One thing some homeowners might not realize is that there's a timeline to get your project finished. It has to be done within 120 days to be able to get your rebate.
For this one, since the homeowners have 120 days to actually do their conversion from lawn to California friendly, it's a rebate that takes much longer.
Customers can continue to submit requests for now, and it's on a first-come, first-served basis. Buell will try to get his project finished this weekend.
I'll submit it Monday, and then the countdown will start to that, hopefully 10 to 12 weeks for the rebate.
You think that's too long?
You know, for us it's okay, but I could see where it could be difficult for a lot of people looking to do the same thing.
In Toluca Lake, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
More news straight ahead here at 7:30 and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. A routine traffic stop turns into a life and death situation for a police officer. Now the search for a man who was caught on camera dragging the officer with his car. Plus, George Clooney takes the lead in Tomorrowland, why he thinks the film is brave, plus what he's saying about life as a newly married man. These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. A big honor today for 6 local LGBTQ community leaders at the Harvey Milk Promenade Park in Long Beach. They were inducted into the Equality Plaza portion of the park. The plaza was created to recognize local LGBTQ leaders who have advocated for equal rights, AIDS research, historic preservation, homelessness, and other issues. This year's honorees are Marilyn Barlow, Norman B. Reed, Judy Doyle, Dave Newell, David Hensley, and Rick Ford. So congratulations to them.
All right, thank you for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on KDOC TV. Law and Order SVU is next.
Have a good night.
This is ABC7 Weather.
Hey everybody, Jonathan Novak here. Okay, we're looking ahead to rain the next couple of days. Showers should start a little bit later on in the Thursday afternoon time frame. I'll show you the future rainfall forecast right here. This is at noon. I'm bring you through about the commute home, 6 p.m., and you see that green right there around Santa Barbara County, Ventura County. Rain chances already in the picture. Clouds are going to be around today and tomorrow, and much cooler weather for the next 2 days too. This is Friday at 5 a.m., and it seems right now with the forecast the strongest activity could be in that time frame for your commute on Friday morning. By Friday later on in the afternoon, the rain chances are moving out as the system pulls away. Today, tomorrow, looks like it could be a little wet in the Southern California area. Your 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. Decent shot at rain later on in the second half of Thursday and the first half of Friday. A half an inch to possibly an inch in some of the heavier areas where we see some of the heavier activity. The weekend looks dry, though. Very nice. 70, 71. Good stuff for the weekend if you have plans. Valley's IE, chance of rain could produce about an inch of rain overall over the next 2 days, and this weekend also looks very nice. 70 to 72. The beach, cool, cloudy. A half an inch for you guys for the shower activity here. Looks like it's going to be, again, later on today and through Friday. The mountain forecast calls for snow up to 6